Alright guys, so I want to go through a bunch of different stuff here. We have some new PS5 information. The PS5 most likely being a worldwide launch, which could greatly impact how well the PS5 does at its launch compared to the Xbox Series X. And some stuff with COD 2020. Charlie Intel is giving their take on the new Gaming Revolution leak, talking about Black Ops 5, the Black Ops reboot COD 2020, potentially it being a Vietnam War based game. Not only that, potentially maybe it being called Call of Duty Vietnam or Call of Duty Vietnam War, and COD 2020 as well. If it is delayed, Charlie Intel talks about whether or not MW2 multiplayer remastered is actually a real possibility, and then we'll also talk about the chances of us actually seeing it. If COD 2020 is delayed this fall, instead of that, will we see MW2 multiplayer remastered instead? So I'm going to go through the PS5 stuff in the second half of this video, so if you're just here for PS5 information, I'll have a timestamp below in the top of the description as to when I start talking about that PS5 stuff, because it is pretty interesting. So let's start off here with Black Ops 5 COD 2020. Charlie Intel says, rumor, Call of Duty 2020 is connected to the Black Ops universe, but will not be called Black Ops or Black Ops 5. So just as a backstory again, the original leak was that COD 2020 was supposed to just be Black Ops 5. It was supposed to be as simple as that, Black Ops 5. Some people don't mind that, but some people are sick of the same Black Ops name over and over and over again. So Charlie Intel goes through as to what the Game Revolution talks about, and they're gonna give their take on exactly what's going on here. So there were rumors floating around for a while that the title may be called Call of Duty Black Ops 5 or a reboot of Black Ops and will simply be called Call of Duty Black Ops, but that has changed in recent months according to the video. Now, I actually made a video 2 days ago going through these leaks in depth and in detail and talking about Call of Duty Vietnam. Sledgehammer Games actually have been working on a Call of Duty Vietnam game since about 2011. And I go through a bunch of those former leaks. They still have the assets for that game, and that's probably what they're using for this upcoming COD 2020 game. And just because Treyarch is taking over doesn't mean Sledgehammer Games, it doesn't have those assets from Call of Duty Vietnam back from 2011, and Sledgehammer Games and Raven, they're still working on COD 2020, so all of those assets are being used. So if you want to check that out, I go through a bunch of information within that video. The link will be down below in the description, but for now, Charlie Intel is a good source to look at just because of the fact Charlie Intel is pretty much treated as a normal YouTuber that Activision sends PR material to. So when Warzone was coming out, or when a new Call of Duty releases, Charlie Intel, whoever's behind it, I think his name is Keshav or someone, or whoever else is working at the Charlie Intel team or the Dexerto team, because they took over Charlie Intel, they get flown out to Activision and they play these games early. So although Charlie Intel is supposed to report on leaks and report on different stuff, they usually know a lot more insider information than we may know. So it's good for them to see them talking about these leaks, because it tells us that they don't have any other insider information about Call of Duty 2020. And the reason why that's such a big deal is because we're in the end of April now. We're getting towards the end of April, and around this time last year, when Activision was starting to promote Modern Warfare, they were inviting a bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of influencers, streamers, NBA players out to play Modern Warfare early. Now, the thing is here, Charlie Intel, they would have been invited out. They were invited out last year, and around this time, Charlie Intel would have already played Modern Warfare, and they probably already played Modern Warfare multiplayer exactly a year ago, pretty much a year ago this month or even this week. So the fact that they don't know what's going on here is very telling. It means that Activision has not contacted them for anything regarding COD 2020, and there are no immediate plans to market the next Call of Duty, to be flown out to play the game early, to do any of this normal PR stuff. So they go on to say, another big question surrounding the 2020 game will be if Activision delays the title because of the uncertainties revolving what's going on right now. Seeing that game development is being affected at many different publishers and studios, it will be interesting to see how this year goes. Someone responds, cough, MW2 remastered, cough, cough, and they're obviously talking about MW2 multiplayer remastered. Charlie Intel responds, if they delay the title, they will most likely not release another multiplayer game in the fall, but rather update Modern Warfare and Warzone for a longer time frame. Their stance continues to be that they have no plans for multiplayer, especially with how successful successful Warzone is. So I think a lot of you guys know very well that Charlie Intel is just not subscribing to the MW2 multiplayer remastered talk that everyone's been talking about. I just want to lay the facts out here. A lot of credible leakers that have leaked Warzone accurately, leakers that have leaked Modern Warfare accurately over a year ago are all pointing at MW2 multiplayer remastered. Now, we were talking about it potentially releasing within the next month or so. It looks like that's not going to happen. It looks like, if COD 2020 is delayed, it would be around the fall timeframe. But clearly, you see Charlie Intel says here that they don't think that's the case. They think that, Modern Warfare is going to stick to their guns, stick to Warzone, stick to multiplayer, and there's no way they're releasing another multiplayer experience like MW2 multiplayer remastered. Again, I don't know. I like to think Charlie Intel sometimes is a bit cynical. They don't like to believe this type of stuff. I'm just looking at the leaks. The leaks are telling me here that MW2 multiplayer remastered is a thing, and it's going to happen very soon, and it could very well happen this fall if COD 2020 is delayed. I honestly, even if I liked MW2 or I didn't like MW2, that's just the fact. The leaks were accurate. It's not like some random guy saying MW2 multiplayer remastered is coming. It's from accurate leakers. The Game Revolution, a bunch of different sources from Activision are saying this. So honestly, it's just up to Charlie Intel. Obviously, they don't believe that, but it's up to you guys as well. What do you guys think? Do you guys believe the leakers? Do you think it's less likely because Charlie Intel is saying this? But Charlie Intel does say different stuff depending on the information they know. Now, this depends on your opinion of Charlie Intel. I know sometimes a lot of people think Charlie Intel can just be cynical, meaning that Charlie Intel, although they report on Call of Duty news, they don't really like to look at the leaks. So when the Game Revolution was leaking a bunch of stuff for Warzone, Charlie Intel tried not to report on it, and if they did report on it, they would say, okay, guys, this is really just a rumor. And you see here, with the Call of Duty 2020 not being called a Black Ops reboot or Black Ops 5, they're very cautious. But the reason why I like that is because they're talking about it, meaning that the leaks are probably pretty valid if Charlie Intel is looking at them and they're just like, okay, you know what, we can post this because this is not far-fetched. And if Charlie Intel was contacted by Activision and they played COD 2020 early and they personally knew it wasn't called Black Ops 5, they wouldn't report on the leak because they already know for sure that it's not Black Ops 5, so they're not allowed to leak that out, so they wouldn't report on it. So the fact that they're reporting on this leak is a good sign that shows that this leak might actually be valid, and COD 2020 really might not be a Black Ops 5 or a Black Ops reboot. So some very interesting stuff there. I'll expand upon this within different videos, and we'll talk about what this means for COD 2020, but it's very cool to see that Charlie Intel is weighing in on these leaks. Sometimes they don't weigh on certain leaks for certain reasons, and sometimes they do. So it's very interesting. But let's go through the PS5 information here. PS5's launch aiming to be simultaneous worldwide. So what does that mean? While it doesn't sound like there'll be many PS5 consoles to go around when it launches this holiday 2020, there's hope you may not need to wait for the system to arrive in your country. You may recall that Sony staggered the release of the PlayStation 4 in 2013, making it available in North America first, then Europe a couple weeks later, and then finally in Japan the following year. According to a report on Bloomberg, however, boss Jim Ryan wants the next-gen device to be available everywhere on the same day. PlayStation chief Jim Ryan has stressed that the machine's launch should be simultaneous around the globe, according to people in the company's supply chain, the website reports. And why is that a big deal? So this is good news because it means no one will be left twiddling their thumbs waiting for the hardware to be made available in their region. Of course, it could prove to be a massive headache for the Japanese giant to overcome, with console launches notoriously challenging. And what's going on right now, throwing a massive spanner in the works on top. We'll just have to wait and see what happens because we're still not convinced that the console is going to make it out on time. Let's look at the dates very quickly for the PS4 launch. So in North America, we have November 15th, 2013, and then PAL, which is different portions of Europe and Asia, November 29th, 2013, and then Japan, February 22nd, 2014. So that was the staggered launch for that. This time around, they are set on having this console release in every country at the same time, and you have to think why that would be important. It's going to generate so much hype that everyone's going to be waiting for the same release date, and then once that releases, everyone's going to be accessing and purchasing and getting this console at that same time, and that's just going to be a way to at least offset or mitigate a bunch of the negative impacts of what's going on right now, and the fact that there is less units available for the PS5, and also the fact that maybe the PS5 is slightly higher in price, which I personally don't think those are negative factors. I think Sony is such a powerful brand regardless that even though there's less units available than there was with the PS4 when the PS4 first launched, and even though it might be slightly more in price than the Xbox Series X, I know how powerful Sony is. I know how many people want the PS5, and I just think there's just no way any of these effects are really going to negatively impact PS5 to the point where this worldwide launch is truly going to be the main decider as to if the PS5 is successful. Because honestly, even if the PS5 had a staggered launch and it had the same thing with the PS4 where it's released in America first, Japan like 4 months later, I think even if they had the staggered launch for the PS5, it would be a similar situation. People who want the PS5 are set on getting the PS5. Pre-orders are going to sell out way in advance. So regardless as to when it releases, people are going to be set into getting their PS5s. I think with this worldwide launch, they're trying to generate promotion. They're trying to make it so, okay, we're doing this crazy worldwide launch. Everyone could get it right now at this point, and hopefully, you know, make it a big point to everyone that they're doing this crazy worldwide simultaneous launch thing. But I think in the end, even if they didn't do that, they would probably be fine. There has to be something crazy. They need to really mess up the PS5 to fail this holiday season and to lose the console war. I mean, they need to really have a feature within the PS5 that is just so off-putting that people are just like, okay, there's no way, regardless of what you do, I'm not getting this. And I doubt that's going to happen. So the worldwide launch is cool. If you live in all of these different countries, it's exciting to see it all launch at the same time, especially if you're in these different countries, not in America. You get to play it at the same time as us, so it's very cool as well. But will it be a deciding factor? I don't think so. I think the PS5 standalone as it is will probably be a dominant force regardless of its circumstances. So let me know what you guys think about that down below. Maybe I'm just confident, but I just feel like that's just the case right now. Unless I see any other information, otherwise I'll talk to you guys about that. But as of now, I'm pretty confident about that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.